Hey Drew, this is Adrian Gomez. I'm just looking at your back leg squat. The power of your back leg, I want to get it to about below 110 degrees. If I can get it close to 100 degrees, by squatting, you're going to have a lot more power. A lot of this is due set up to your foot. Your foot needs to be inside of the rubber, facing inward as much as you can to where it's comfortable, and that's going to in turn push your knee inside. Because right now your knees over your ankle and you're not pushing, and then you put your foot down and then there's no power out of the back leg. The back leg actually comes up. There's no power, and so you're missing quite a bit of velocity out of that back leg. When you plant with your toe heel, which is good, and there's not too big of an external rotation here. What I mean by external rotation is your knees traveling this way. It's about 9 degrees. Undo. About 9 degrees. And so if you could spin your foot this way and your knee is landing over your ankle, that's going to allow your back hip to come through. And when your hips rotate. So moving into the back hip to front hip, at plant foot, we're looking at 96 degrees. And with the extension of your front foot, another foot, you're going to get to 110. I want to get to about 110 degrees out of that the angle. And so I'd like to push you a little bit further. Looking at your front knee is actually pretty fabulous. It's about 146 degrees, but as you drive, your front knee actually comes back, which is exactly what we want, and we push our chest through. So we get this action in here, and this action is what creates a lot of the velocity that you need to be able to drive. So coming out of that back leg, loading and pushing through is really what's going to get you down the hill a little bit further. So I'd like to extend your stride another foot, maybe a foot and a half, and that's going to really increase the angles of your hips, and then just your ability to rotate is going to increase. Looking at your posture at ball release, your posture is what we call a B posture, and what that means is as you rotate back, here's your posture when you start, and then here's your posture when you finish. And so if I can minimize this, if I can get you to maybe be back here a little bit, move your head maybe 3 or 4 inches backwards, that's going to minimize your head movement, and that's going to really maximize your ability to throw strikes. So when you do that, you're going to be able to be more successful at hitting your spots, and then also throw harder. Your arm's going to feel a lot better because you're rotating better around that axis. Looking at your launch, the launch is what we call right here. This is what we call a close to a late launch. We want to be the later the better. So as we move down the line, this launch is affected by a few things. Number 1, your legs, and then number 2, your upper body. And so once we want to get a little bit further, and I'll show you how as we move through this. Coming back into this squat, and this is what we call stacking, or the acromial, stacking acromial. I want this knee to be inside like we talked about before, and I also want your upper body to be backwards. So if you can get your head over that back foot as long as possible, because you can see as you move forward, your head comes up and you're straight up and down. I want you to be tilted backwards a little bit so that you can use that weight to be able to throw with your body and not your arm, so that this back leg doesn't come off. So stacking needs to improve. Stacking is definitely a reform, something that we need to reform and work on. Inverted W, and also the front glove. So let's look at your front glove as it comes through. You pinch and you rotate around it. you pinch and you rotate around it, which is pretty good. I think because you look at this leg here, that leg's really, we want to get it further down the line so that instead of just finishing and stopping here, you're finishing and getting through and finishing on this side of the rubber. I want more of your energy going forward and then going this way so that you can clear your body, your hips, your chest, and get across your body as far as you can. So that front glove is pretty good. I think it's actually pretty good. So looking at high elbow here, we have a little bit of a high elbow. You can see the elbows elevated above the shoulders a little bit. Shoulder, shoulder. And we talked about this a little bit earlier, but the elbow keeps coming up, and the elbow comes up because the back leg comes off. So if your back leg was stabilized, you wouldn't have to come up with that elbow. So you do have an elevated elbow. That's something that we've got to work on and fix, because that's going to reduce injuries and just make you more comfortable when you're throwing. Another effect of the launch is your chest extension, and we've talked about this as well. Your back hip to your shoulder is 48 degrees. I want to get it to the high 40s. So the further you can drive this chest, if you could drive it a little bit further here, you'll be able to get through, keep that elbow down. Instead of having it come up, your elbow's going to stay down, and that's what's going to really create everything staying together and moving together. So last thing we're going to talk about is the arm fly out. So as you come into this external rotation here, you come outside of this elbow. So if I cross stitch this, see how far outside of the elbow it's coming out? I want to drive that chest, and I want to minimize. So I want to minimize this so that, see how your arm stays straight? This arm should be bent. It should be rotated and bent. Arm stays straight. So that's what we call a hand fly out, a forearm fly out. And when that happens, you're not driving through the ball. You're kind of tossing through the ball. There's a lot of stress on the bicep, and if you can rotate that thumb inside this way and keep that elbow bent, then you're actually taking all the stress off the elbow and you're putting it right into the back of the shoulder, which is where we want all of the stress to happen back here. That's where you're strongest. So thanks for everything that you guys did, and I'm excited to just be a part of the organization and help you guys grow over the next few years. And thanks so much for being a part of this.